y'all, it's Miss Burke. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. We're starting Monday's math lesson with order of operations. It's page 347 in your book, and we're only doing the bottom section, number 10 through 21. It's order of operations, and this is something you learned with Miss Claire, but we're going to go back over it and review some. So we use this little saying to remind us the steps. P is for parentheses, E is for exponents, MD is for multiply and divide, and AS is add and subtract. So we can remember that PEMDAS. Okay? So in your book, I'm going to do 4 problems for you, and I've just kind of chosen some random ones that I thought would be helpful if I worked. So I'm not going to go straight across. I'm just going to start with number 12. Number 12 says 32 divided by 2 squared plus 6 times 3. So first, we start with parentheses. Well, we don't have any parentheses in this problem, so we move to our next exponents. We do have an exponent here. If you'll remember, that means write this number this many times and multiply. So I write 2 times, and I multiply. Okay, so I have 32 divided by 4 plus 6 times 3. Now, I really encourage you to write every step out like this. Don't just try to do it all at one time in your head. It'll get mixed up really easily. So, we've done exponents. Now multiply and divide. The reason I do this arrow like this, it doesn't always mean we have to multiply first and then divide. We go from left to right. Multiply and divide is the same step, so they both go third. Here, we're going to divide first and then multiply because we do it just like we read. We go from left to right. So the first thing we do is 32 divided by 4, which is 8. And then we multiply 6 times 3, which is 18. And we still have our plus sign left. So now we have 8 plus 18, which is 26. So the answer to number 12 is 26. All right, next I'm going to do number 15. Number 15 says 2/3 squared plus 1/2 squared. Okay? So our first step is parentheses. Well, we do have parentheses, but there's nothing we can do inside the parentheses. If this was an improper fraction, we could divide. But since it's not, there's nothing for us to add or subtract or multiply or divide inside the parentheses. So we move on to our next step, exponents. So, with exponents, remember that means write this number this many times and multiply. So I have 2/3, I write it 2 times, and I multiply. And I do the same thing for this set of parentheses. 1/2, I write it 2 times, and I multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I'll do the same thing over here. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. And I bring down my plus sign from up here. Now, the problem with this is that I have to have the same denominator to be able to add. So we're going to change this denominator on both of our fractions to 36. Now, I chose 36 because I can multiply 9 times 4 to get our common denominator. Now, when I'm changing these fractions, if I change the denominator, I also have to change the numerator. 9 times 4 is 36. If I do it to the bottom, I do it to the top. 4 times 4 is 16. I still have my plus sign. Now, same thing over here. 4 times 9 is 36. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 1 times 9 is 9. Now I can add now because I have the same denominator. 16 plus 9 is 25, and our denominator stays the same when we add. So the answer to 15 is 25 over 36, and we cannot reduce that. So it stays the same. All right, the next one I'm going to work is number 17. Number 17 in your book. It says 5 times 6 divided by 3 plus 5 squared. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do, no parentheses, so I check for exponents. Well, I have an exponent right here. That means I write 5 2 times and I multiply. So I have 5 times 6 over 3 plus 5 times 5 is 25. Now I move on to my next step, multiply and divide. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 6, if you remember that's what that dot means. 5 times 6 is 30 over 3 plus 25. Now I divide, because this is an improper fraction, that means divide. 30 divided by 3 is 10 plus 25. 10 plus 25 is 35. So the answer to number 17 is 35. All right, the last one that I'm going to work is number 19. It says 6 squared over 3 squared plus the square root of 49. Now, this is the only one with the square root, and that's why I wanted to do it with you, because we haven't really gone over the square root. What we do with the square root is try to figure out what I could have multiplied by each other, like this, 6 squared, to get 49. So what number can you multiply times itself to get 49 is what we're trying to figure out with that square root, okay? So, back up here to our steps. We don't have any parentheses, so we're moving on to exponents, and this will count as we'll do this in the same step, okay? 6 squared means I write 6 twice and multiply it. 3 squared means I write 3 twice and multiply it. Now be thinking what you can multiply times itself to get 49. So 6 times 6 is 36. 3 times 3 is 9. Now the square root of 49 is 7, because we can say 7 times 7 equals 49. I don't want you to stress out about this. It's the only one on the page with a square root problem, so that's why I wanted to work it for you. If you don't understand that, don't worry about it right now. So next, we multiply and divide. Well, right here we have an improper fraction, and that means to divide. So we divide 36 divided by 9, and we get 4. So we have 4 plus 7 left, so our answer is 11. Okay, I've worked 4 of the problems, so you have 8 left to do. Just remember the order that you're supposed to work it in: parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide from left to right. If you divide first, that's okay, as long as you go from left to right. Add and subtract, the same thing. You go from left to right. It doesn't matter if you have to subtract first. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. I've sent a picture of this math page to you, and just work it on a sheet of notebook paper. You do not have to send me a picture of this. This is not for a daily grade. You don't have to send me a picture, but please work it. It's really good practice, and you will use this even in high school and college too. All right, thank you.